Grand Theft Auto 6 has been confirmed. Is there going to be a Web3 angle, and are they going to include a cryptocurrency? This is Around the Blockchain. Thank you for joining, everybody. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button because we got 3/4 phenomenal guests on today. We're going to go ahead and start with Rodney in the green square. Rodney, might be seeing you at the studio again soon. How are you doing today?
That's right, baby. Daddy's home, man. I'm excited to go back up there and hang out with you guys. And I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I sang the usher for you the first time. I'm not going to do it a second time, though. I don't want to.
Come on.
I don't want to punish chat just like that. All right. Also on today, we have Jackie Dutton, a friend of the channel. Jackie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's John Caroni's day in court, so we're all waiting for updates for that with SafeMoon.
Oh, we love some safe coins, but maybe not particularly safe moon. Also on, we have Paul Puey, if I'm saying that correctly. Paul, did I get it right? All right, how are you doing? You San Diego, I think is how you say it.
I'm not gone, unlike some others who may have left the entire state of California, but still here in San Diego. Would love to be in the studio one day. So, let me know when and where. And I'd love to actually do something live in person.
Come out to Atlanta. I know TJ would love it. And then you don't have to step over syringes on the sidewalk. It'd be a great time.
You're mistaken San Diego for San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. It's the other San. I'm sorry. Also on, and hey, we might be talking about San Andreas later, everybody. We got OJ Jordan. OJ, how are you doing today?
Very well, very well. It's almost midnight here in Cyprus, and I'm ready for it.
All right. Hey, burning the midnight oil. That's what crypto is all about. Well, they want to burn all your cash up, folks. We're talking about a potential cashless society here. We had Oxford, a pretty well-known university. They did a big survey with tons of C-level suite executives, board members, and just think of the elites of the elite. And they asked these people, are we going to be removing cash from society? The answers might shock you, folks. If you want to pull up the headline here, if you scale out long enough, 85% think we'll be cashless in just 10 years. If you shorten the timeline to just say 5 years, 1 in 3 executives thinks we'll be cashless in the next 5 years. But cashless does come with the downside, folks. Number one, nearly 9 out of 10 respondents, about 87%, so they're concerned with their ability to protect customer and client data in the future as we go more and more digital and get away from those dirty pieces of paper. Now, Rodney, I want to ask you a hypothetical here, because I think we all think it's going to happen eventually. When you picture the future, there's flying cars, jetpacks, there's holograms everywhere. When someone buys something, all of a sudden they don't start pulling out wads of paper from their pocket. When you see that futuristic society, not once have I ever seen dirty paper coming out of a pocket. So I think we can all agree, eventually it is going to be cashless. What is Rodney's timeline for that?
Ooh, timeline's tough. I could say maybe 2050. Here's the thing. Most people don't use cash for everyday things. In fact, it can be kind of messy, like you said, pulling out wads of cash, just to pay for everyday things. But I do think there's a level of anonymity to it that people still enjoy. I mean, the people that hoard boxes of cash and stuff it in under their bed or in their closet, or older boomers and stuff like that. And if you're just keeping cash in your house, even with healthy inflation, it's 2%, so you are losing the value of your dollar. But I do think that some people do still enjoy the anonymity of cash. Now, I used to work in retail, and what happens is sometimes people get their credit card stolen, and they would call us and say, hey, our card was used at this store. We could look it up and see who was spending what on what, right? But I do think that people like the privacy of cash, but the fact that no one uses it, it may not be a thing that people like, but I think 2050 is a good timeline to be cashless. Hopefully not through the form of CBDCs, though.
Jackie, what do you think about us just more and more becoming cashless? Because Rodney brings up a good point. It's not like, the banks are decreeing this, Walmart's decreeing this. People increasingly don't pay with cash. I think it was, you have 99% of your customers use a credit card. Maybe you don't need that cash register. And sure, that may upset 1 out of 100 people, but at the end of the day, it probably makes everything happen a lot more smoothly. So does cash have any hope? I mean, is it inevitable we're going to eliminate cash? What's Jackie's timeline here?
I can see even shorter, like 12 to 15 years. I mean, it didn't take long during COVID for them to come up with this concocted a coin shortage. Remember when that happened? All of a sudden we're out of coins and everybody's hoarding coins. So I think cash is a very big comfort to a lot of people. Remember when the Depression happened and there was the run on the banks? Well, money was still backed by the gold standard then. So inflation wasn't that big of an issue, but people stuffed their cash under mattresses. They buried it in the yard because banks weren't insured, which is why the FDIC was created. So I just think that people conceptually hold on to cash because it has the idea that it's backed by gold. I don't see a need to continue that when it's clearly being manipulated and controlled by a governing body that decides its supply.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. You ask the average citizen in this country, hey, you know, what's backing your U.S. dollar in your pocket? They're going to say, oh, it's gold. It's gold. Fort Knox, right? Yeah, there's a whole bunch of it. I'm pretty sure I remember that. Well, you know, yeah, we end up clinging to paper and technology. No one likes paper money more than, you know, crypto maxis, I would say, which is strange because we embrace technology and most of us don't use cash, but at the end of the day, we're fighting the politicians wanting to get rid of cash. Paul, why do we cling to cash when knowing most of us don't even use it?
Ironically, I'm going to say that cash is not going anywhere. I'm going to go and buck the trend from everyone else. And mainly because of the politicians. I would say that the people that claim that they want cash removed because illicit actors use it. Well, who are some of the most illicit actors in our world but the politicians themselves? We've got Hunter Biden getting tracked for a few $1 million of payments from China. And because he used the digital method of payment, that actually can be discovered. You know, in $100,000 chunks, you could probably transport that cash and have it not tracked. So that's number one. Number two is we will not have the internet everywhere in the world. So even if cash becomes a very small sliver of the amount of money being held and circulated around the world, you'll need a little bit of it just to get into the Serengeti of Africa and hopefully into places like Yosemite and whatnot, where you just simply don't have internet. And are you really going to trust the digital transaction somewhere where you don't have internet? In that respect, cash is here to stay. It'll be a very small amount of our usage, but I don't think it's going anywhere long term. And if not cash, at least some type of a physical money, whether that be gold coins again, which I doubt it will be, but some kind of physical money that can be traded without an internet connection. And obviously without that, it becomes an anonymous form of payment.
All right, you know, let me add a little Barry Bonds asterisk here. You know, that was great. You knocked it out of the park. But, you know, you said politicians get bribed in cash. Can I share my screen? We're forgetting the gold bars, Paul. We're forgetting the gold bars. So Bob Menendez, the New Jersey senator, not a state senator. So, hey, sometimes it's cash, but hey, we can't forget gold.
I did say physical. It'd be something
he's
physical.
Right. You can't swing nothing past that Paul guy. All right, now, OJ, what do you think of that? Now, Paul's thinking cash is here to stay. Most of the people are thinking cash is going to be gone, say 10, 15 years, maybe even 2050. What do you say? I mean, how long does cash have to, you know, still be transacting? How long can I still buy Coca-Cola with that wrinkled dollar bill?
I think you'll be able to do it for a while. I mean, I will echo here Paul's opinion because I travel a lot and I travel to rural areas a lot. Right now I'm in Cyprus. It's a village here. There is no infrastructure to really support the switch to a completely cashless society yet. And it will take some time. It will also take some time for, you know, the older generation to pass, so that, because some of them are never going to wrap their head around, you know, digital payments and stuff like that. So I don't think it's inevitable to, you know, to happen soon, but it will happen eventually. And I worry that it will be in the form of CBDCs rather than crypto, which we would like it to be crypto, but most likely it will be CBDCs. We're talking more than 60 countries are already in the stage of development of CBDCs, more than 20 central banks currently. I mean, according to some reports, even 130 countries are already in some stage of research or development of CBDCs. So that's definitely coming, but it will take time.
Well, OJ, I like to base 100% of my life decisions off anecdotal evidence. What are they doing in Cyprus?
In Cyprus, they don't, I mean, it's very kind of old-fashioned here. Cash is still ruling everywhere. I can't remember if there is any places where they don't take cash, unlike the rest of Europe.
I live in Atlanta. Good luck. A lot of places in Atlanta. Good luck, you know, bringing cash inside a business. Now, Paul, I want to push back. You're the first one to say, you know, I think cash is sticking around. Will CBDCs change that narrative? Will the CBDC issuers say, we don't need all this paper floating around?
So it won't change the endpoint, which I think is cash is going to shrink and shrink and shrink, but it'll pretty much stop at a certain point, and we're going to have some amount of cash. CBDCs might accelerate to get to that point, but it's not going to make it any worse, because that minimum base threshold of the cash that we need, both in areas that don't have the infrastructure and should never really have the infrastructure, such as areas of nature where we just simply don't want there to be internet because it costs too much to put in the middle of the desert, that as well as, hate to say it, but the illicit activities, which starts with the politicians, that'll stay, and we'll still need cash for those two reasons. We might accelerate it with the CBDCs, but name anyone that's going to want to use the CBDC for illicit activity, and obviously you can't use it over the places without an internet connection.
You know what? I'm going to double down on that. I think I agree. And let me think of one reason. Who votes more than anybody? It's going to be the people that are maybe a little bit older, a little up there in age, and who's probably going to be more inclined to like cash. You got someone who's 82 versus someone who's 22. I think the person who's 82 is going to remember, well, I remember my mother telling me about, the Great Depression, and no, we got to have some cash sticking around.
82, you're just starting your political career at this point, right?
Well, yeah, 80, yeah, you're right. It's, they're a freshman, freshman senator out of New York there. All right, well, let's talk about keeping your coins. And make sure you keep hitting that like button as long as it's an odd number. Don't hit it twice, 4 or 6 times, but hit it like 1, 3, 5, or 7. All right, no, we want people to keep your coins within the U.S. Senate. I want to give a shout out to this politician. Let me see his name here. Let's see, Senator Ted Budd. Let's show his picture one more time. He looks like a Ted Budd. I'm not trying to be funny, but I mean, if you told me that guy's name is Ted Budd, I'm not surprised. But he introduced a new crypto bill called Keep Your Coins Act. I would say I like the title of that one, but hey, I like the sound of Patriot Act too, but you know how that one turned out. Well, he wants to empower individuals to have full custody and full empowerment of owning their digital assets. He said there's a growing need to control your digital assets amidst rampant industry turmoil. Maybe a little shot at Gary Gensler right there. And if passed, it's going to prohibit federal agencies from enacting rules against self-hosted wallets. So maybe making it illegal to make self-hosted wallets illegal there. He tried to pass similar legislation in 22, also called the Keep Your Coins Act, although it's yet to see a full floor vote. They're not bringing it up to vote, folks. They're burying it in the chambers like they so often do here. Now, Rodney, we keep painting these dystopian pictures. I don't know why, maybe I see you as a gamer as like maybe Ready Player One. I see Rodney like fighting the man in some sort of digital hellscape in the future. But I want to ask you, Rodney,
Yes,
will self-custody eventually be illegal?
That's an interesting topic because, first of all, shout out to Gary Gensler, protecting everyday investors.
Thank you, Gary.
Somehow misses FTX, Voyager, Celsius, Terra Luna, but goes after XRP, Binance, and Coinbase. I'd like to see the conversations FTX had with Gary Gensler before their collapse. Anyways, obviously we have a problem with centralized exchanges right now, right? Your cryptocurrency is not insured, right? Most people, especially if you're been in DeFi for a while, you understand that the problem wasn't cryptocurrency, it's a centralization issue. And I think self-custody is so important, but obviously the government wants more control. They want to see what you're doing, right? That's why, the centralized exchanges, I think that there's going to be clear rules and regulations passed that make them work in whatever governing body they're operating out of. I think that's very important for governments to kind of get control of that. And that's why we see them going after Coinbase and Binance and stuff like that. Self-custody is super important. People have the right to privacy, right? We don't need to show or tell everybody what's going on all the time. And until we get clear rules and regulations on some of these centralized exchanges that protect your cryptocurrency in the event of some sort of bankruptcy, I think that self-custody is really the only answer, and you should only be using centralized exchanges to maybe buy some crypto and then maybe send it to your non-custodial wallet. So that's my opinion on it.
All right. Now, Jackie, like a previous Jackie, I'm going to have you bat for the other side here. Now, from the government's perspective, what is a good reason to make self-custody illegal? What do you think their main motivation is?
I mean, there's obviously the prohibition of nefarious activities, buying things that you shouldn't, being able to use a mixer, hide money laundering, which they do all the time, but okay. But I think the bigger issue that as we get into like more of a tech-based society and more of a digital age is that we are a data point. We are a very sellable data point. Every piece of information about us, every like, every click, every post that we even hover on means something about us. And I think our money has the potential to expose that even further. So we become a commodity to them with them being able to have access to this information. So I think them being able to know the ultimate way that we all individually spend our money, that's what they want.
Okay. Now, Paul, I want to ask you a question here. Obviously there's going to be facets of the government that wants to ban self-custody. They can say it's anti-money laundering, oh no, it's for the terrorism. You donated to the wrong cause. I think it's because it maybe probably gives too much freedom. I want to ask you a question. Can the U.S. government ban self-custody? What would that look like?
So interesting you ask, because one of my first comments when I saw this was like, yeah, I don't think they can really even do that. It's one of those like, duh, do we really need an entire bill to say that it's okay for people to self-custody? Now, granted, of course, they can catch people that are self-custodying and saying, okay, well, you now need to give us your money, give us your keys, whatnot. Even if your keys are buried, you could say, oh, I lost them in a boating accident. So while the government can pass any law, enforceability becomes the real question. And I think they can easily enforce it amongst all of the law-abiding citizens, the kind of person that doesn't jaywalk and drives 55, 65 miles an hour. They can absolutely enforce it because those people just simply follow along. However, for the vast majority of why they want people not self-custodying, the people that they don't want self-custodying, they will have no control over those people in the first place. They'll self-custody with completely open source software that has no company behind it, even if they have to run a full node. They'll do it because when there's a will, there's a way. And most of the reason that Jack had mentioned of nefarious activity, if that's what you're trying to squash down on, you'll have absolutely no success doing that. Because these people will go jump through hoops to be able to self-custody and transfer funds between each other, and you're not going to be able to do a thing about it. So my take is, you can't really enforce it, at least not for the people that you care to enforce it on.
All right, might go as well as prohibition then, what you're saying.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, and
you're just going to reverse it. It's going to go back, and we're going to all be able to self-custody again, just like prohibition.
Well, when I think of prohibition, I can't help but think, maybe a little bit of corruption happening behind the scenes. A lot of it, sure, if you want to know about the history, a lot of shell-shocked World War I veterans coming back. And, they probably weren't the nicest people to their family members. But I digress. OJ, I want to ask you, you're an outsider looking in. And, I kind of explained what happened here. We have this politician. He wants to give Americans freedom. He wants to give them the freedom to own just Bitcoin and have them actually own it. And then it gets buried in committee and never even goes up for a vote. It's the second time he's trying to introduce this bill. From an outsider's perspective, does this just seem like full-blown corruption to you, or how would you explain this?
You know what? I was actually quite surprised to even see that headline, because I didn't even think it's an option to ban self-custody. I mean, right now, everyone who's got cash or something, that's self-custody already, right? And it's not illegal. It's never been illegal. I wonder what would be the grounds to actually make it illegal. Yet there are nefarious activities, there's money laundering and all of that. There's already a lot of laws and regulation that they've implemented to fight this. And it's still happening despite all of that. So I don't know. To me, it's strange that there's even that proposal, but the fact that there is that proposal means that maybe there is something happening behind the scenes. So it's good to see that bill. Perhaps it will get more exposure with time, and eventually it will be passed, because I can't imagine who wouldn't want to have self-custody.
Hey, from the citizens' perspective, probably none of us. From those in control and power, they might have their reasons, I suppose. Canadian truckers.
But is it going to be legal to prohibit? I mean, I don't think it's legal.
Oh, I would agree. It certainly feels like just a God-given right, if I'm going to be frank here. All right, let's talk about Grand Theft Auto V1. No, talk about Grand Theft Auto 6 is about to release. It got confirmed today, folks. Let's just show. Here we have a little photo. Hey, the classic style right there. First trailer will debut in December. There's a lot of rumors happening, so they just Rockstar, they posted that, hey, the trailer is coming out. It's coming out next month. Just calm down. It's confirmed. We are going to release it soon. And it's going to have the first female protagonist of the game series, influenced by Bonnie and Clyde. Okay, pretty interesting there. And it's also going to be set in a fictionalized Miami. You guys might remember that from Vice City, fans of the genre or fans of the series who played it back in the day. Launched in 2013. Grand Theft Auto 5 just hit 10 years old. Can you believe that? Grand Theft Auto 5 has been out for a decade, folks, and has sold 185 million copies, almost selling 250 million copies right there after first debuting all the way back on the 360. and the PlayStation 3, everybody there. So, all right. Now, Rodney, you do a lot of gaming. I mean, how long? All right, Rockstar, it's not just Grand Theft Auto. They got, what some call the game of the decade, Red Dead Redemption. I actually just downloaded it. Me and the fiance might play it. But will we see, since they are so large, will they foray into crypto? Or are they, maybe a little bit too big, worried about, some regulatory issues?
See, that's the main question right there, are the regulatory issues. But I do think I see an angle for cryptocurrency in gaming. Now, a lot of gaming cryptos are absolutely sending Gala, Illuvium, and many other cryptocurrencies were sending. And I do think there is a future in the play to earn sector once they figure out the whole inflationary part of it, because when you're playing to earn a token, you earn it. You can only create so much of it. But I do think the biggest issue with some of these games like Fortnite or Call of Duty is that people spend hundreds of millions of dollars on in-game assets like skins and different weapons and stuff like that. And when that game goes away, there goes your money. So when you tokenize something or put it in an NFT form, maybe in a certain gaming studio like Ubisoft or whatever gaming studio or organization, maybe you can make those NFTs like cross-functional through different games so that when you buy something, maybe the value doesn't go away, or maybe it goes away, but you can save it as some sort of keepsake, right? So I think that NFTs, crypto gaming on the blockchain is a thing. Now, a certain like kind of partnership or to use a certain crypto inside a game from a company that created Grand Theft Auto, I'm not sure if that's good for them, because like you said, there could be a lot of negative publicity associated with it. But we have seen other companies partner with cryptocurrency, entities like, UFC, Crypto.com, VeChain and stuff like that. So in Hedera with Karate Combat. So we could see it, but I think that making NFTs, in-game assets in the form of NFTs with crypto gaming is probably the route I see a lot of these games taking.
All right. Well, I want to talk about another. I agree with that. I think NFTs are going to be huge. But Jackie, I want to talk about maybe a underexplored genre. What about meme coins? Now, meme coins is going to be a huge onboarding presence. We saw it with Doge in, I think, April, May 2021. But then most people will say, no, gaming is going to be the big onboard wave we see for the next retail wave. Well, what do you think is going to be bigger, Jackie? Is it going to be meme coins onboarding more users, or is it going to be gaming onboarding more users for the next bull run?
At the end of the day, I mean, the video game industry is how big, it generates how much money, how many copies of GTA were sold. That's, to me, a very obvious play, right? You have far more gamers than you do people who even know how to buy a shitcoin. But I think that's a very good vessel in order to onboard people. How many people love this game? They get older, they get more money because they get better jobs, they get really nostalgic, and they end up getting involved in this game. So I think all of these games stand to tokenize something, create an NFT. Fortnite skins, for instance, very easily become an NFT. A GTA is such a perfect universe to exist a cryptocurrency, like a GTA currency. And I feel like that has a little meme potential within itself. So I think capitalizing on a meme feeling, but definitely utilizing the gaming fan base to really onboard people.
All right. Now, Paul, I want to ask you, we don't really know what this is going to look like in 10 years, but let's make a prediction. What is Web3 gaming in 10 years? And will we even say the phrase Web3 gaming then?
I think we still will, because I think it's going to take a while for Web3 gaming to actually take hold. I know one of your regulars, hopefully he's not listening, would hate for me to say this, but Stash, big fan of.
We love Stash.
Crypto game. And I love Stash too, but I think we have slightly different views on crypto gaming. When you ask that question, like, hey, is Rockstar too big? And I think the answer is yes. Much like the biggest countries don't adopt crypto, the smaller ones do. If you think about it, if Rockstar wanted to make an in-game asset that is tradable between the different games that they make, they could do that fully centralized. They don't need crypto for it. Really, what's the value of crypto? It's interoperability amongst parties that don't like each other, don't trust each other. Well, that's independent game houses. So I would expect that just like crypto being adopted for utility in smaller countries, it'll get adopted within smaller game studios. Because if they want to if they want to be more competitive with the large studios, they can make these in-game assets that can actually, through the blockchain, be transferred from one game to another, to another, to another, because they don't have a single server that can house these assets that any one of them necessarily trust. That's my prediction for how we can actually see it get adopted in a true utility form. Other than that, it's just payment. Like I'm going to pay my subscription. We've been doing that for years, especially people under 18 who don't have credit cards and, just simply have a little bit of crypto. They can go and buy, their Steam credit using Bitcoin. But for true like Web3 gaming and especially the NFT use case, I would expect that it's going to need interoperability amongst completely different companies. And usually those are going to be the small ones because they're the hungriest to compete with the big guys like Rockstar.
All right, you're talking about the hungry players out there. OJ, I want to talk about a little bit of an overlooked industry aspect we see in Web3 gaming. That's guilds. And a guild is, for those at home who might not know, a guild is you have the NFT assets, say it's Axie Infinity or some other play-to-earn game, and you give someone access to your $1,000 NFT wallet, and then they earn money with those NFTs, and you do some sort of split, 50-50, 60-40. Are we, since you're overseas, you maybe, are a little bit more aware of other people's financial situations, versus America. A lot of us kind of live in a bubble here. Are we going to see more and let me just call out, are we going to have like 10, 20% of the population making their living off video games? Or is that always just some moonshot fantasy that's never going to come to fruition?
I don't know about 10 or 20%. I feel that's a bit high, but I can see it getting a bit more wider adoption than, right now it's still a small market, I would say. Definitely the younger generations are more and more into gaming. So that sector is going to grow a lot. With Web3 gaming, I feel that the trust factor and everything will contribute to that. So definitely we'll see increase. I don't know about 20% though. I think it's too high.
All right. Now we're going to go chat. Those who stuck around, you're in luck. We're going to go around the blockchain, ask everybody the same question. I'm asking you at home. I'll answer myself first. What is your favorite game of all time? OJ, I'll start with you. Now, I'll go first. I love some Magic the Gathering, but OJ, if I had to pick a video game, I'm going to go with Tetris. OJ, what's your favorite video game of all time?
That's a difficult one. The one I played the most, actually, it's two of them, was Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, because I'm kind of older.
All right.
Fortnite from the newer ones, if I have to pick. But I haven't played games in the last few years.
Mortal Kombat throwback right there. You maybe even played when it was gray sweat falling off, not even blood back then. Come here, Paul. What is your choice?
Damn, OJ took my favorite, Street Fighter, but specifically Street Fighter 2. I've probably sunk more money into that game than the average person has sunk into all the games they've ever purchased for a computer or a game system. I've just plunked quarter after quarter after quarter.
Turbo? Were you playing Turbo?
I played, what was it, the Championship Edition, the Turbo Edition?
Okay, yeah. Those who don't know, Turbo's where they introduced M. Bison. All right, and USSR, China, Brazil. I still can hear.
It was such an unwoke game, but it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, and back then, video games didn't have audio that was like actual dialogue. So the guy saying USSR was like kind of mind blowing. And if it tells you how old it was USSR, folks. Right. So that kind of sums up how old. Yeah, maybe we're dating ourselves a little bit here, age-wise. All right, Jackie, do you have a favorite video game? What is it?
Yes, it is Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Okay, all right.
It's such a beautiful game. Like, the world is so big, and you could hang glide, and it's just, you play that game for hours and hours and hours, and you never get bored.
All right. Probably a lot of fans of that one in the chat as well. And then, Rodney, what is your favorite video game of all time?
Well, it's another Legend of Zelda title, and that's Majora's Mask, because it's my first Zelda game that I ever beat, and the nostalgia factor is insane. And back in the day, before they made the remake, that game was insanely hard for a kid to play.
All right, I'm going to choose violent. Ocarina of Time was the best Zelda game. Everybody had the best soundtrack. Oh, yeah. And that's all we're going to end up with today. Paul, I'm going to say you brought the hottest takes. Paul, you're the first one to go against the trend. Say, we're going to keep cash. I'm going to go ahead and give you the parting thought here, Paul. I
gotta wipe my butt with something.
No, is that a Biden quote? My butt's been wiped. No, sorry. I digress. Paul, feel free. Leave us with some parting thoughts.
Yeah, hold your cash, hold your crypto, and keep on gaming. I guess it's pretty much the topics of the entire talk today.
All right, my favorite game was Pokemon, everybody. All right, that's all we got. And don't you dare say Axie Infinity in the comments. I swear to God, I'll come after you. And we'll see you folks tomorrow in the morning stream.